Really excited for today's Philadelphia Eagles now. Hope all of you watching the show are having a fantastic weekend. Coming up, our weekly mailbag segment where we take questions, comments, analysis, hot takes, and more from our real ones, our viewers and our subscribers. And speaking of our subscribers, Eagles Now has had a great month of June when you consider it's the desert as far as NFL content because OTAs and minicamp are in the rear view. Philadelphia not going to meet for training camp until July 23rd. We're still crushing the game, and as the host of this show, entering year 3 on the beat of covering the Birds, every year that I've been the host, our numbers have gone up year over year. So let's continue to do that, and I think this is a really impressive graphic because of all the NFL channels at Chat Sports, Philadelphia Eagles Now has picked up the second most subscribers. That's huge for us from a business standpoint. The more subscribers that we get, more eyeballs, more views, more channel growth. But I want to take down Vikings Now as we are 32 subscribers away from overtaking that channel. So hit that sub button today. And as always, go Birds! Andrew Nathan getting us started with this one right here. And Andrew Nathan always knows ball, always shows off the football intellect, and always asks very good questions. He's also very funny on social media. Chase, what are the chances that Howie Roseman not only trades or cuts James Bradberry, but he trades away Darius Slay, and we roll out Quinyon Mitchell, Kelee Ringo, and Isaiah Rodgers as our starting cornerbacks? Obviously, we have talked a lot about trading away James Bradberry, and Philadelphia would literally save no money this year in trading away Bradberry. Such an interesting player because the path of his career has been so fascinating. He's literally had this trajectory and this path of one good year, one bad year, one good year, one bad year. Last year was awful. And the drop-off from 2022, when he was a second-team All-Pro, was a huge drop-off. Could the Eagles be banking on him having a good year in 2024? That could be the case, but honestly, I don't really care if he's on this roster or not, because what I want to see is the continued development of Kelee Ringo and Eli Ricks, and I want to see what Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean can do. And Isaiah Rodgers is also a cornerback who I'm intrigued by because 2 years ago when he was playing with the Colts, graded out very well according to Pro Football Focus, and had a great spring for Philadelphia in OTAs and minicamp. And the Eagles are in a spot where they're so deep at the cornerback spot. I think that they could give away James Bradberry. They could spread out that remaining money on the rest of his contract over the next couple of years. Darius Slay is an interesting one, and we haven't talked about trading away Slay. And let me look at his salary numbers according to Over the Cap. So if the Eagles were to trade him post-June 1, they would have to take on $9.4 million in dead money, and they would only save 1.2. It just doesn't make sense to trade away Darius Slay from that financial standpoint. Let me also say this. Darius Slay 2 years ago, like Bradberry, they were one of the best cornerback duos in the NFL. He played very well. Last year, Darius Slay was better than what people give him credit for. Keep in mind the defensive scheme, and I've said this so much, was a piece of shit. So it's hard to gauge who played well, who played poorly. He gets the knee operated on. He said the speed is back. He feels good. I'm still rolling with Bradberry. What do you do at that other cornerback spot? I'm getting rid of I'm rolling with Slay. At the other cornerback spot, I'm getting rid of Bradberry, and it's going to be a competition between Rodgers, Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, and then Cooper DeJean can start in the slot for me. Carol Hosey next up. With the new offensive system, there is a learning curve. Any word on how quickly they are picking it up? It's hard to gauge during OTAs and minicamp. The indication that we did get was that the offense was struggling in picking up the new scheme during minicamp, when in 3 days of those mandatory practices, the Philadelphia Eagles defense won Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it wasn't really close. Now, I think it's easier at this point of the offseason to fire on all cylinders, do less thinking, to get after the football, and to be aggressive defensively. Whereas on offense, there's scheme, there's play design, there are nuances, there are complexities, and the thought process is a little bit more delayed. But clearly, there's a learning curve, no doubt. And in training camp and the preseason joint practices, we'll certainly see. David Marcella, can we get some info on Jayce Hunt? Will he make the 53-man roster? People are very impressed with the athletic traits that he has. And what's interesting about Jayce Hunt, he started off at Cornell as a safety. Then he went to Houston Christian, turned into an edge rusher, and he's a player with good burst, good wingspan, good length, good speed, solid physicality, although might have to add a little bit of weight to his body to be an edge. What's interesting is that Daniel Jeremiah is an NFL draft mind that I really trust and value in the pre-draft process. He had as a top 100 guy. Vic Fangio really liked Jayce Hunt. So it was a little bit of a reach for Philadelphia to take a project where they did. Has a chance to make the 53 for sure. With the player like that, it's hard to cut him, expecting him to clear waivers to bring him back on the practice squad. So for that reason, might make the 53 outright. You're approved. How do you see our deep secondary situation shaping out? So I kind of answered that with what Andrew Nathan added to the show a little bit earlier. At safety, if they don't pick up a Justin Simmons or a Quandre Diggs or an Eddie Jackson, it's going to be C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship at safety with Sidney Brown and Mekhi Garner as the backups. Darius Slay will be one of the starting corners. And then on the other side, I think Quinion Mitchell is going to be given opportunities. Kelee Ringo will have a shot. Isaiah Rodgers will have a shot. And I think those are the corners who are going to have the realistic chances to start opposite of Darius Slay. It's a much better and much improved unit from what we saw last year. Andrew Nathan, Chase, ESPN ranked our linebacking group 30th in the league. Do you think that we will add a body to the group via trade or free agency? Could you see Howie making a splash move and a trade for Tremaine Edmunds? We have talked about Tremaine Edmunds here on the show as one of the players who could get traded in a move where the Bears would basically admit, we made a mistake in signing him to that big deal. He didn't play well for us last year. Statistically, the Pro Football Focus numbers were not good at all. Why I have confidence in this linebacking group and why I think Devin White can have a rebound season, Vic Fangio has coached the linebacker position as a linebackers coach. His defensive scheme has elevated linebackers. If the defensive line can eat, that's going to help out. And I'm just a believer in Devin White. I know that analytically he didn't check out, but I've seen the dude play. I've seen him be a game changer and a game wrecker. I've seen him be an all-pro and a guy who was a defensive stud and missile for a team that won a Super Bowl that had a great defense. Now, opposite of Devin White, Nakobe Dean's always injured. He's a little bit small. He has to stay healthy and prove that he could play in this league. Zach Bond, that is risky because he's primarily been an edge rusher, and now Vic Fangio is utilizing him as an off-ball linebacker. 30th, it's not a bad ranking. If you want to go free agency, Shaq Leonard, no way. Zach Cunningham, late signing. I thought that for him and his tackling ability last year, he was at least serviceable. Lamont Lancaster, I would love to have the Penn State dual threat running backs of Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders. What's interesting is that the Panthers ended up drafting Jonathan Brooks in the second round, first running back taken in the 2024 draft out of Texas. And to some, that signaled, are they going to move on from Miles Sanders, who they signed to a pretty good deal last offseason? I'm always of the belief you need a couple of good running backs on your team because of the injury rate at the running back position. I think Carolina is going to have Miles Sanders and Jonathan Brooks at that RB spot. If he were to get let go, would Miles Sanders be willing to come to Philadelphia as a backup just to team up with Saquon, or would he go somewhere else where he can get some more gives? Sean Clark, if the Birds have a dumpster fire of a season, do you see Nick Sirianni getting fired? And how would you feel if Kellen Moore gets promoted to head coach? Man, it depends on how the offense performs. If the offense is also a dumpster fire, you're not going to elevate Kellen Moore. That would make no sense. If the offense is excellent and puts up great numbers, yet the Eagles as a team are still having sideline arguments and the culture continues to be broken and situationally, game management, Nick Sirianni lacks there. He was so good in that area in 2022 and was bad in 2023. Then you look at a guy like Kellen Moore as maybe elevating. But if the Eagles have a dumpster fire, it probably means the offense is awful. And if the offense is awful, you're not going to elevate Kellen Moore. But to your point, if this is a bad year for Philadelphia, given the pressure of this city, given what happened last year, that would be back-to-back disappointing years with a really loaded roster. Sirianni will be out of here. And then you try to get the best offensive mind, Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions. A lot of Bill Belichick paper trails to follow from last offseason. Could they revisit that with the Super Bowl-ready team and a veteran head coach who is maybe the GOAT in winning Super Bowls? It would be a fascinating offseason, and we cover it right here on the show. Lion Fighter, who will lead the defense in sacks this year? Great question. Great question. Because everybody's kind of unproven. Bryce Huff's had one good year. I'm not sure if Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat are scheme fits. Nolan Smith has a Hassan Reddick type of build, but can he make that sophomore leap? I'll go safe bet, and I'll go Bryce Huff. 10 sacks last year. And I think that he can continue that ascent and live up to the payday. But that's a challenging one. I'm fascinated to see at the end of the year who leads his team in sacks. Joseph Krager, last question. How do you plan to maintain sanity on July 23rd? Well, that is when training camp gets underway, when rookies and veterans report. I'm going to be really pumped up. The thing is, Eagles report the training camp July 23rd. I think I go to Cabo 2 days later, and then right after that, I'm going to Maine. So what's really going to be difficult for me is maintaining my sanity as I'm by a pool or on the beach and then on a lake in Cabo and Maine, and all this juicy Eagles stuff is coming out. I'm going to have to bring an at-home studio with me, microphone, ring light, camera, to be able to do some content because I love working. I love talking ball. And if there's good stuff to talk about, it's my job to inform everybody. I'm going to have to do it here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. But I can't wait because that's the first official start, Joseph, of the 2024 season where you're starting the prep for the upcoming year and preseason games quickly after that. And then we roll right into the regular season. Gonna be epic. Epic show today. Always great talking with everybody. I've been putting out these mailbags on Sundays, and the views have been tremendous. So we're going to continue to go about it in that way. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. You're the best. Real ones, baby.